Greetings, everybody! Welcome once more to the Dracovin Empire. Are you ready to dive back into the world of Golarion, the setting of Pathfinder role-playing game system? Because we are headed to a nation in southern Garund today that we know-ish about? Ish? We're heading to Droon today. So if you're ready for a small tour of Droon, this is definitely one of those videos where we might revisit it in the future if more books come out. But for now, a small visit. Anyway, I'm your host and guide here, Dracovin. I'm going to lead us over to Droon, where you can get this kind of like view from afar. We'll get some, some binoculars and kind of check it out. Please do remember before we leave to our binocular tour of Droon to give me a little bit of a tip with subscribing over on the YouTube things and letting me know what you think of this in the comments below. And do you think this was enough to talk about? I thought it was enough to talk about. Let me know what you think about that one too, or what directions would you take if you were just making up stuff for Droon yourself? How would you evolve the ideas and concepts behind this nation? Anyway, let's get going. Grab my hand, portals open, let's rock and roll. Boom! Southern Garund. Now, Southern Garund is really not very well known. There are only about two powerful nations down here, and one is Droon, another is Olirant. But there are some books that do tell us little snippets of Droon. The Inner Sea World Guide from first edition did a little bit of that, and from second edition, the Ancestry Guide gives us a thing, and how the Wild did. Both of them give us very small snippets, so we kind of have these like, these are three snapshots of Droon to give you an idea about it. There are some other places that do mention it in places, but these are the three books I would really recommend the most. What is Droon? Okay, let's get through the basics of this entire nation. So, it is very far beyond the Inner Sea. This is Southern Garund. This is far below the Mwangi Expanse. Mwangi Expanse is like northern center Garund, so anything you go below there is a region that we really don't know about. There's two nations down there, Olirant, which I did do a bit of a video about, you can check that one out, which we know a little bit more about, and Droon. Droon we know less about. But we know these two nations are the more powerful nations that exist in this southern area of the continent. Basically, might be the two biggest ones here. It is a land of a lot of swampy river deltas, and the people that rule it are the Uruk-hai, the Lizardfolk. The dinosaur-riding Lizardfolk of Droon rule this place. It's a place of dinosaurs, Uruk-hai. It doesn't mean there's not other people there, but Uruk-hai are the rulers of this place. And of course, the language of this region, Drooni, shares its language with its name. It's a major language that is used in this region, interestingly enough. So, what do we know about the Lizardfolk of this region? Well, we can kind of talk about that a little bit. They are the Tarawasha Lizardfolk ethnicity, or culture, that exists in that region. They kind of believe themselves the paragon of this ancestry because they believe that this region was one of the original ones. Basically, Droon they see as the original nation in the world. That it was from the Age of Serpents, that this was before Aslan and a lot of the major nations, they existed here. Does this mean that Droon, as it exists now, is the same nation? It's hard to say. But it is a vast empire in the southern area of here. And their deep connections to dinosaurs is an important part of their culture. The fact is that these Lizardfolk down here, which do have a tendency to green scales with patterned underbodies, and they associate with dragons and lunar nauts. They have expressive fins and neck frills, they're artistic, and we do know about some connections with some of them from various books. So there's kind of what we got for that. And if you're talking about heritages in game, they take the frilled or unseen Lizardfolk heritages. If you're talking about the Tarawasha Lizardfolk of Droon. Dinosaurs are an important part of their culture. Noble Uruk-hais will have feuds settled by Cerator duels, soaring caravan trails haul goods across the impossible distances. Wizards will have bred spell-laced, I'm going to butcher this one, Ramphus familiars. And thieves will have a whistling velociraptor as a lookout. Dinosaurs are completely important about them. The fact is that you don't find dinosaurs much outside the inner sea regions or a lot of other places in the world. You can find some occasionally like in the Milwaukee Expanse and kind of these other areas that are basically a lot more primal and out there, that they still survive to this day. But if you really want to see where dinosaurs survive, it is southern Garund, and it is in Droon. The beings here, these dinosaurs here have existed. Think of, if you want to go for the books and television series of popular media, Dinotopia. This is Dinotopia, but with a lizard people, a Rooksy, leading the charge rather than humans. It's a fascinating picture of a fascinating culture, and dinosaurs are so deeply intrinsically connected to them and their culture, it is an important part about it. And then that's the thing to say about it, is it's a culture built around them and their dinosaurs. Yes, you know, it's the fact that when you meet people from Droon, that's what you get ahead of. They're dinosaur-riding Lizardfolk, and they are a well-settled nation. They have massive amounts of cultures and cities. We don't know about a lot of those cities and cultures. We know about the nation, and that's about it. But we do know some of their religion. Grandmother Spider, who's being displayed here, is actually one of the major deities worshipped in Droon. Now, I'm using this image of her, but I'm sure they have their own image of Grandmother Spider in that area. Things like the Night Heralds are often also active, though, again, the people of Droon basically see the Night Heralds as a kind of shameful burden of their past. And they kind of would want to get rid of them, but it's kind of like a hard thing to do. A brief summary on the Night Heralds. They're an organization of magic users that to summon and control things from the Dark Tapestry. Yeah, apparently they originated in Droon. Or they have a deep connections to Droon. And we know that Lurksaw has a small cult operating in secrecy in Droon, from other sources and stuff like that. So there is a lot going on in Droon culturally, beyond dinosaurs and religiously, and that religious connections do exist outside of that into other countries. It's just that this is the snapshot we have of Droon. And that's kind of where we have to leave it there. I think when we look to popular media, and as I said, something like the Dinotopia series of books and popular media, that was a lot popular a while ago, where it kind of shows things at a kind of more medieval era connecting with dinosaurs. That kind of is Droon in my eyes. The place where there are no domestic animals the same way. Dinosaurs are the domestic animals. They have been domesticated, they are deeply connected with the Uruxi culture here, and they've evolved into something completely different. They are basically a snapshot of a bygone age that doesn't exist anymore. All the various apocalypses and problems that probably did have trouble for Droon. We don't know how Earthfall affected them, but it probably wasn't good. But, most likely, Droon, in some form, existed before Earthfall. That means this is a nation that may not have the longest continual existence, but has probably one of them. It's an ancient nation with deep ties to the land here. And probably the creatures that are here have always existed here. This is where main amounts of dinosaurs didn't go extinct in Golarion. We have to remember, in Golarion, dinosaurs didn't necessarily go extinct. They just went pretty hard and went extinct in certain areas. And that extinction in certain areas allowed other creatures to take place. But in small pockets, they were able to find a way to survive, something that didn't really happen in Argus. There was no lost world. There were lost worlds in Golarion. And it's kind of evolved in a different situation. And Droon in southern Garund is an example of where they thrived, remaining in all the various things that happen. These are creatures that thrive, and the Lizardfolk, the Uruxi that are here, are deeply connected with that. A fascinating culture, fascinating people that we only get this brief snapshot of, and I would love to get a deeper look at. Southern Garund is one of those areas that I point out and be like, can I learn more about that? So, if we ever do learn more, I think I'll do another video on it. But I wanted to introduce you to it because, honestly speaking, even if we don't get a great picture of it, my imagination gives me a lot of ideas of how I could run an adventure in Droon. And it'd be fascinating and fun and great. And granted, it would not be maybe what would show up in, you know, the actual books. Or it might be close. And it'll be pretty awesome. So I hope you've enjoyed diving in and talking about them. And maybe your imaginations on what Droon will be is inspired just like me. Maybe you want to have an adventure. Because I hope you do. Please remember to check out all my other stuff, whether it's over live on Twitch, where I do top recordings, where I have some variety gaming, some basically other stuff with friends. But if you want to just check the tabletop stuff out, can't join me live, you can always check it all out on the tabletop stuff on YouTube. All my tabletop stuff is uploaded over here. That includes my live plays, like Fall of Avonswell, which is streamed Wednesdays at 8. And any of the live plays that have been in the past, go check those out. I'm also discussing tabletop Saturdays at 6. That's my kind of talk showy thing. Also goes up on YouTube. Anyway, you can always check out my social media for upload times, all those kind of things, schedules, updates on life, and things like that. Be sure to make sure to do that support thing. At the very least, subscribe over on YouTube. That really helps out. And let me know your concept for what Droon might be. Give me an idea of your idea of Droon from this kind of snapshot that we have of it. I'd be fascinated to see what everybody says in the comments below. Alright, everybody, I'm going to go in. Until the next time, I bid all of you out there a deep and wonderful farewell.